Well, we got a couple pieces of sadness to talk about. And let's spin back to baseball and let's talk about the passing of the voice of the boys of summer. I'm talking about Vin Scully. Uh, a brief story. I grew up in a baseball family. My dad was a pitcher in the athletics system. The last year he played right after the war, he was in Vero Beach. One of the biggest thrills of my life was I got to go to Vero Beach to do my sports talk show.
Hmm.
The station sent me there for a week covering Dodger baseball. And here I am walking the hallowed grounds of Vero Beach, where my dad was after World War II. So that was cool. I'm a baseball historian. So I'm there, might have been the first day, and I'm walking the grounds and walking around the stadium. And I see across the way from me Vin Scully with a
Hmm.
couple of people. So Vin is talking to them. He finishes up and he starts walking towards me. And he yelled at me across the lawn, Hacksaw. I didn't know that he knew me. I mean,
Wow.
I never gave thought to the fact I was on a 77,000 watt signal at extra 690 and he'd hear me every day or whenever he listened. So he knew who I was. So I shook hands, introduced myself. He said, "Yeah, I know who you are and what you do, and welcome to Dodger Town." And I told him how thrilled I was to be there, and told him a story about my family and all that. My uncle was also a baseball beat writer that covered the old Brooklyn Dodgers in the 1930s. So he was a very significant baseball beat writer, and then went off to World War II and became very, very important in the coverage of the Pacific Theater with MacArthur. So I said, "Hey, would you have some time to sit and talk? I'd love to do an interview with you." I had never interviewed him before. He said, "I have this to go to." I said, "How about I'll meet you over at Holman Stadium in a half hour?" The Holman Stadium was just down the yard. So I went and sat. Vin Scully and I talked for 40 minutes. We sat there and I interviewed him about his career, interviewed him about Brooklyn Dodger baseball, interviewed him about Los Angeles Dodger baseball, interviewed him about the stars, the personalities, etc. He was so generous of his time. And I flipped that around and used it on my talk show. And I think the most amazing thing to me was this was a superstar who was not a superstar to deal with. And as a talk show host, John, I've interviewed every big name there has been in sports in my era, good people, bad people, crazy people, whatever. And this was just one astounding individual, gem of a person. And we just talked about a wide variety of things as it relates to the history of baseball. Understand, I grew up on Long Island. I grew up in the era of the Yankees and the Dodgers and the New York Giants. And I told him, I said, I am so thrilled when we got done with the interview. I said, I'm so thrilled to have had this chance to talk to you. Because I said, the legends in the broadcast booth, I've interviewed them all, from Jack Buck to Harry Carey to Bob Prince to our own Jerry Coleman. I said, this is really special. So it's sad, 94 years of age. Um, he was a poet, he was an artist, he was a historian, and he was a gem of a human being. So, but age 94, he lived a great life and he saw an absolute ton of things, and he's revered by the fans. He's revered by Major League Baseball, and he's revered by those of us in the media that cross paths with him. What a special, special guy he was.
Wow. I mean, I grew up a Giants fan. I'm a Padre fan, but I love Vin Scully, because he is so special. I mean, like they say, the radio guys, they can paint the picture, and they're wonderful storytellers, and Vin was a great guy, so
I was a kid when I grew up.
yeah.
I grew up on Long Island, and on Sundays we'd go to the beach right on Long Island Sound. And you could walk up and down the beach at that period of time, and you could hear all the baseball games because you had Yankee fans who were listening to Mel Allen and Dodger fans listening to the young Vin Scully and Connie Desmond, and Giant fans listening to Les Kiter. And I laughed with Vin and I said, I interviewed all those guys. I think there's 36 broadcasters and journalists who have been enshrined in the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown and the media wing. And I was at the Hall of Fame 2 years ago and I counted, I think I interviewed 21 of the 36 guys in the Hall of Fame because I love the media and love being around those guys. But Was he so special? And now the Dodgers are wearing a special patch
Yeah.
on their shoulder with a picture of a microphone and his name Vin on the patch. But we won't see anybody like this come this way again.